How can Kemetic spirituality save us? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video today. It's Boo Fam, peace and blessings. This is Derric Rakumor, and in this video, we're going to talk about how can Kemetic spirituality save us. Okay, now let me begin by first saying that part of the reason why I'm going ahead and doing this video is mainly because there's a couple of reasons, I should say. The first reason is that this is by request. There's been some people I've been in contact with, some fam I've been in contact with. We've been talking, for about a minute or so. And we went ahead and, that was one of the questions that comes up, if Kemetic spirituality is all this, how can it save us? How can it improve the lives of all of us? Okay. The other reason why I'm doing this video is because there's been a lot of talk, a lot of discussion about gatekeeping our culture, and talk about who created hip hop, who is the creator of certain cultures, who's the creator of our culture, and I want to go ahead, and I thought this would be an excellent way to go ahead and segue that back into, how I think Kemetic spirituality will save us. Okay. Now, I know there's a lot of people already, they're kind of, they don't want to mix, the spiritual aspect with politics or so forth and so on. I get it. The one thing I have to say about that is that's not how we roll. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. That's not our ancestral way. Okay, our ancestral way includes everything. Everything is holistic. Everything it fits together. It works together. Okay, we never had a society that there was no spiritual element included within it. Okay, I mean, think about it. This society modeled themselves after our ancient civilizations, and then they decided, okay, well, but we're going to do it different. We're not going to go ahead and include, we're not going to include God in it. We're going to say we're going to include God in it, but we're not really including God in it. We're going to keep that separate. We're going to keep, science and religion separate. We're going to keep, medicine and religion, medicine and spirituality. We're going to keep all those separate. Okay. And this is the reason why we're in the situation we're in. Okay. So all I'm asking is that you be a little open-minded about this, okay? Because like I said, trying to go in here and to make something work without having that spiritual element in there is, I don't foresee it happening, okay? Every system in which has been created that they have created themselves without including that spiritual aspect in it, or going ahead and weaving and having both of them all work together. Every time they've done that, it's failed. Okay, communism, socialism, capitalism, whatever you want to call it, it's all failed. Okay, so that's part of the reason why I want to go in here and we want to talk about this. How do I think Kemetic spirituality will save us? Okay, now, first of all, before I begin, I always got to have some kind of backstory with this. But, before we begin, one of the things I want to say in regards to, this experience that we've had here in North America is that we have been taught, or rather programmed, to identify with the color of our skin. Okay, we've been taught to identify with the color of our skin, and that everything, and basically we are who we are based upon the color of our skin. Okay, and that really is where a lot of our issues begin. Okay, our colorism issues, our issues in regards to our self-help, self-love, self-hate, our issues in regards to even relationships. It really begins right there. Okay, of going ahead and being programmed to believe that we are our complexion. We are our skin, okay? And we are this flesh, all right? So that's really where a lot of our problems, where they begin. And that right there, for those of you who are into this, who are into the Kemetic spirituality, and you're into other spiritual systems, and as soon as you go in here and you first start dealing with spirituality, you can already see, as soon as I went in here and said that, you probably already see, oh, okay, there it is. There's the problem, okay? Because the first thing we are taught when it comes to dealing with spirituality is not to identify with the flesh, not to identify with our person, not to identify with this, this body, this physical form. Yet we live in a society, and that's what the society has done. They've done this for 400 or 500 or so years of constantly going ahead and telling us that we are basically who we are based upon the color of our skin and based upon our flesh. Okay? So that's where most of our problems begin. It starts right there. Okay? And because of us going ahead and identifying with the color of our skin, okay, we've also gone ahead and we've confused, and we've gotten we've gotten priorities and all that kind of stuff, but we've confused our culture with our skin, okay, with the skin we're in. And that's, so if you get what I'm saying, give you an example. If you go back and you look at the Land of Cam blog, one of the first, this was like, we're talking when Obama was the president, okay? I was one of the first individuals that said, before it was popular, I was one of the first individuals that said, Obama's not black, okay? Now, at the time when I was saying it, I didn't even know how they actually formulate or actually say, find the words that actually express what I was saying. But what I was trying to tell people, because I remember people was asking, what do you mean he's not black? He looks like us and this and that and the other. And I kept saying, I was like, no, that's not what I mean when I'm saying he's not black. I'm saying he's not one of us. He doesn't identify with our experience, or the Black American experience, the African American experience. He hasn't had that. He grew up in Hawaii, okay? And I don't mean no disrespect to, any black person who lives out there in Hawaii, but that's not where our experience comes from, okay? The African American experience a lot of it is rooted within the Deep South. Not all of it, but a large portion of it is, okay? And then when we migrate, when our great grandparents and great grandparents, and when they migrated to, the northern cities and what have you, to find jobs and all that kind of stuff, experiencing different kinds of, those experiences, that is part of the African American experience. Okay. Within that whole experience, then you also have how the music comes about, how the culture, how the food comes about, the language and all this. That's completely different from someone who comes from Hawaii. Okay? Again, no disrespect for anybody out there, but I'm just saying that's completely different. Okay? It's a completely different experience from someone who lives on the continent of Africa. It's a different experience from someone who lives in Jamaica, or someone who lives in Trinidad and Tobago, someone who lives in Puerto Rico or Cuba or Haiti, Dominican Republic. Completely different experience. Okay? So, because of that, being a different experience, but being forced to make that one experience singular, as if it's just, this just happens all the time, that this is part of just the black experience, okay? Because of them going ahead and doing that, and we've been programmed to do that, we've been programmed to go ahead and identify with only the color of our skin. Anybody who looks like us, we've gone ahead and said, okay, well, you're black. Or if they don't look like us or whatever, then we say they're not black. Okay? Now, anybody on this channel, or anybody watching this that has been, if you've gone, if you got any kind of formal education, I'm talking about just education that, got your high school diploma, okay? If you got an associate's degree, if you've gone to college or so, if you've gone to any kind of technical school, if you put your family first instead of your own interest, all right, then you've been called a house Negro, and you've been called an Uncle Tom, or you've been called not being black. I remember I was called an Uncle Tom, and I was not black because I didn't walk off a job with this one guy because he was getting fired because he was late. All right. Not only was he late, he was late to all his job sites. Constantly late. Constantly being, disruptive and argumentative, and to the supervisor. Constantly challenging, constantly pushing buttons. So when they fired him, I was supposed to go ahead and walk off the job too because they fired him. And because I didn't do that, I wasn't black. Okay? So you see where the confusion comes in at? See where that how we've gone here and we've taken that one thing or let me rephrase that. Someone has taken that one thing. They've taken our culture and basically said, this is what it is. They've identified and said, this is black culture. Okay. And because of them going ahead and doing that, it's gone ahead and created a whole host of problems. Okay. You see where that goes in? Okay. Because of us going ahead and identifying with the color of our skin, this is how we are easily manipulated into, in the voting thing. Like I said, I was one of the first people that said Obama was not black. Okay. I didn't have any disrespect for him at the time. All right. But I was like, he's not black because he hasn't had the same kind of experience. He doesn't know about the history. You can't just read about the history. You can't just read or watch a documentary about this experience. Okay. That is the culture. That's a cultural experience. All right. And no one else knows about the African American experience. No one else knows about it. Okay. But at the same time, we can find people who have similar cultural experiences. Okay. So for instance, I went ahead and I was met this one brother, and he's in one of my classes. He's Nigerian. Okay. But he was born in Nigeria, but he grew up here. Okay. Based upon the things in which we were talking about, we struck it out. We're cool with each other, okay? But he doesn't know about my experience. He doesn't know. He has an idea about it, okay? But he doesn't know about the experience because he is, like I said, he's Nigerian. He's Nigerian American. Okay, I don't know if he identifies himself as that, but that's what I'm saying. He's a Nigerian. Okay, so it's a different culture, it's a different cultural experience. Okay, now part of the reason why, again, we're all in this big old mess is because of us going ahead and identifying with our skin, identifying with our complexion, and because of us identifying with our complexion, we expect everybody else to identify the same way. Okay. Now, I'm not going to talk about other countries, how they do things and all that kind of stuff, but it is kind of confusing to other people who come over, and it's confusing for us as well. Okay. And this is why I've always had an issue with people who go in here and say, okay, well, because they see a person who has a darker complexion, oh, okay, well, they're black. No, they're not. just because they have a darkened complexion does not make them black. Okay? That makes them a dark-skinned person. But they have a completely different culture. Okay? So I'm not sure if you understand what is actually taking place, but we've taken on the ideology and the thinking of our oppressor. And this is where we're having our issues at. This is where all of our issues come from. Okay? Because we're thinking like them. We're thinking like these same individuals who've gone ahead and who have looked for ways to oppress us. We're thinking like them. We've taken on their identity. We're taking on all the things in which they basically have done. So, how can Kemetic spirituality save us? Well, if you look at the fact that all this is basically taking place, and if you actually study the Willie Lynch letter, you'll find out that it's all by design. Regardless if Willie Lynch was a real person or if he wasn't real, okay? The fact of the matter is that the concept is real. It's a realistic, it's being played. It's a program that's been playing out for the longest. Okay, the relationship issues, every issue in which we have within our community that is plaguing our community, can all be traced back to that Willie Lynch letter. Not saying that it started there, but I'm saying that it definitely has something to do with it. Okay, the people who went ahead and they conceived it, that's what they were going ahead and they made it possible. Okay, so we are basically in a ball of confusion. And as I was stating earlier, to think that we're going to get out of this by using the Western way of doing things is highly unlikely. Okay, it's not going to happen. Okay, and part of the reason why it's not going to happen is because we keep going ahead and trying to build some kind of camaraderie amongst other people, amongst even ourselves, based upon the top part of a culture iceberg. Okay, you can't build anything on the top part of the culture iceberg. Okay, I mean, me going ahead, and those of you who know me, you know that, and I've talked about this before, you know that food and cooking, that's one of my hobbies. That was one of the things that went ahead and got me through, helped me to recover. So it's a big deal. And as a result, I love cooking. I love learning about other people's food. I learned, how they went ahead and they came up with the dishes, or, whatever, their food, their food stuff, their food things, the history of it. I find it fascinating. Okay. But it's a great way to open up a door to talk about other people's culture. But that's all it does. It opens up the door. I can't, that's pretty much it. The basis, the part of the culture that is up, that is submerged, okay, that's the part that you can actually go ahead and build something going, okay? And we're not focusing on that. We're not focusing on that in regards to within our own community, within our own households. We're not dealing with that. We're still dealing with things from a superficial level, and then we're wondering, why are we getting superficial results? Okay? Yes, insanity. That's what that is. So, how does Kemetic spirituality, how does it tie in? How do I think that Kemetic spirituality will be able to save us? I don't want to say it's simple, but it's basically by going ahead and identifying with the fact that we are all divine beings. We are all God, okay? We all have the Spirit of God within us, all right? If we go ahead and we recognize that we all have God within us, that right there is our foundation. Because if I go ahead and I say, hey, I got God within me, and I have God, and this individual has God within them, okay? And I see this individual right here, and this individual is trying their best to attack me, or they're trying to attack them, and they keep doing this, I recognize that it's God within them as well, but they in turn their God principle off. So therefore, they're our enemy. Okay? They're the ones who we have to go in here and we have to guard against. All right? And this is how I think that we are able, how we can go in here and we can come together. All right? We have to be able to see the divine within all of us. We have to be able to see the divine within each other in order for us to go ahead and build anything. Because if we don't do that, if we don't see ourselves on that same level, okay, then all we're doing is spinning the wheels. All right. I believe Dr. Claude Anderson, he said it best. There's no way we can fight we can't fight everybody. You know, we can't fight everyone. So it would behoove us to go ahead and to look at things from a deeper cultural perspective in order for us to go ahead and build any kind of alliance amongst ourselves, amongst, each other, and then branch out to whomever else we're dealing with. Okay? Now, I've stated this before. Okay? Like I said, this is a ball of confusion. All right? And they've made it this way for a reason. They purposely did this for a reason. And if you keep talking about, people keep talking about, well, this secret society here and this group here, but it never dawns on them that the confusion or the confused state that you're in is part of the reason why, it is part of that plan. The reason why we can't come together is part of that whole plan. It's part of their initiative. So how do you go ahead and do something in which how do you go ahead and play chess against someone who already got you in a checkmate position? How can you do that? Change the board. That's what you do. You got to change the game. And our greatest weapon is our spirituality. It's always been our spirituality. Okay? I mean, they understand this, people. Okay, fam, they understand this. It is not coincidence that, we are basically at the bottom of the totem pole. Okay, no pun intended. But we're at the bottom of the pole, the bottom of the social status social status. The reason why we're down there is because they know. Okay? They know. History has shown this. History has proven this. They got 400 or 500 years of history of us doing this. Whenever these people are here in a state of misery, they produce the best. Think about that. Okay? They produce the most. Everything. I mean, and I'm not trying to take away from any other culture or anybody else, but, and maybe I'm being a little biased, but I don't recall reading anybody else's history. Not in this country. And they had tough times, and they was going through some real rough times, and let's make some music to get us through it. Who does that? They created some other kind of art form to get through it. Who does that? I like I said, I don't know a whole lot of people who've done that, except for the people that are at the lowest, like I said, who are at the lowest row, the lowest status. Okay, so this is all by design. It's all by design. So I think Kemetic spirituality will help us to get out of this situation that we're in But we have to go ahead. We have to use it. Okay? I've told you all before, I don't do anything without an oracle. I just don't. Okay? I don't care who you are. I don't care, I don't care what I don't care. Okay? Because I don't trust anyone. Sorry. Okay? Because we've just been in that state. And people have all been, everybody's hurt. Everybody's been burned. Okay? So I don't know. So yeah, I'm doing readings. Okay? Oh, before we do this, let's go ahead and see what's the status of this. Let's see how this is gonna work out. If we go ahead and we pursue this. Okay? So I'm saying that because I'm saying that's how I believe that we can go ahead and we can get out of this situation we're in. It's the spirituality, okay? And I believe Kemetic spirituality is one of the tools that will help us to do this, okay? Once again, thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Make sure that you all, you get that notification, hit that notification bell, so you can see what's the next video, be notified, y'all know the routine, okay? But other than that, like I said, hopefully that helped. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, and I answer your question. Until next time, I'll talk to y'all later. That's a poo. Peace.